Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Baldrige Foundation's quarterly webinar. Today's topic is the Baldrige Enterprise 2024 update. Before we get started today, I want to take just a moment and recognize all of our donors and sponsors, especially members of the Mac Baldrige Society who serve as trustees for the Foundation's Institute for Performance Excellence. It is their generous support that makes presentations like today's possible. And here's our agenda for today. Our guest presenters are Bob Fangmeyer, the director of the Baldrige program at NIST, Ryan Lassiter, the chair of the Alliance for Performance Excellence, and Stephanie Norling, executive director of Communities of Excellence 2026. Following their presentations, we'll have questions from the audience and a few closing comments. So now I'm going to turn it over to Bob to get us started. Bob?
Thank you, Al. Appreciate that. Great to be with you all again. Jerry, would you go ahead and advance to the next slide? Okay. I always think it's good to ground ourselves in our why and our top line of what we do. And despite all the changes over the past 36 years to the how we do what we do, we remain true to our purpose and our mission of improving the performance and long-term success of businesses and other organizations by recognizing role models and fostering the adoption of proven practices. Next slide, please, Chair. So what I'd like to do is to start with a quick review of some of the highlights from 2023, spend a little time reviewing the key elements of Baldrige Reimagined, and finish with looking ahead to the rest of 2024. Next. So the Baldrige Framework is obviously our core document. In December of 2023, we released the business nonprofit version of the 2023-2024 Baldrige Excellence Framework. And in January of 2023, we released the healthcare and education versions of the framework. And as is always the case, our intention with the changes was to ensure the framework remains at the leading edge of validated leadership, management, and performance practices. In addition, we continually seek ways to make the framework more user-friendly. We always get input for the changes from an ongoing review of literature and from recommendations that come from various industry or sector experts, both within and outside the Baldrige community. We invite a broad stakeholder representation to numerous focus groups, and those groups help develop overarching and specific recommendations for the changes. And we also invite them to review the drafts of the changed versions for the frameworks. Some of the more significant changes to this current version are shown on the slide. None of the concepts shown are entirely new to the framework, and those who are familiar with it will recognize these. And generally, the changes this past cycle consisted of enhancements to some of the concepts, clarifications of other concepts, as well as a bit of reorganizing and realigning of content. We also were able to reduce the number of notes overall by eliminating certain redundancies, particularly where we had definitions that were in both the glossary and in the notes. And we also were able to identify some notes that we really felt were no longer necessary to be in the body of the framework because certain concepts have become more well understood and really don't need that much of an introduction any longer. While we do not have new data for this new version, the Baldrige Excellence Framework always receives exceptionally high Net Promoter Scores. And most recently, it's been either 80 or 100 past many of the past 10 plus years. Next slide. The Baldrige Fellows Program closed out its 13th cohort at Quest last April. And as usual, the Fellows had a great year building relationships with one another, as well as with the senior leaders of 7 different Baldrige Award recipient organizations. The year always kicks off at Quest for Excellence, and it is followed by 3 in-person visits to various award recipients where they really get to see excellence in action. It really is part of the benefit of participating in the Fellows Program. They close out the year at the following Quest conference, where they present their capstone projects, which they have been working on throughout the whole year. And I just have to say that the Fellows Program would not be possible without the tremendous sharing and engagement of those award recipient leaders and their organizations. They do such a great job hosting the Fellows. And I just really want to give them a shout out. If there's any on the call who have ever served in that role, I want to thank you, because you've done fantastic in terms of just creating an environment of learning and engagement and welcome for those fellows. That it really stands out. I also want to call out the staff and the faculty. So Dawn Bailey, Harry Hertz, and our executive in residence, Bob Barnett. They really make the program work. And often I'm not able to attend, so I know they're in great hands. And the Fellows itself actually almost always receives a Net Promoter Score of 100. Occasionally will dip down to around 80. Next slide. So I mentioned Quest. Quest last April was, in my opinion, one of the most energetic, entertaining, and full of insights that we've had in recent years. There were numerous best practices that were shared from around 20 Baldrige Award recipients, as well as other experts, other thought leaders. The overarching theme for last year was a focus on innovation, and it began with that opening keynote by Duncan Wardle. He's the former head of innovation and creativity at Disney, and he really did a great job of involving the entire audience in creative thinking activities, and it really set the tone and energy that carried throughout the leadership plenaries, the concurrent sessions, and even the closing plenary by Don Berwick, who is, as many of you know, one of the most well-known and respected voices in healthcare. So all in all, it was a great conference. We really had a good time, and we're very pleased with those who attended and how much they got out of it. Our NPS for Quest last year was lower than the Framework and Fellows, but remains exceptional at 60. Next slide. The Job Quality Toolkit was a joint effort by the Baldrige Program and the Department of Commerce. We worked in partnership with the Department of Labor, various industry representatives, different associations, some advocacy groups, all of whom really believe in the power and the potential that comes from organizations providing high quality jobs. And in 2023, we partnered with the NIST MEP program. That's the Manufacturing Extension Partnership Program. And we also partnered with America Works, which is an affiliate of MEP, to create an online survey instrument that's based on the Job Quality Toolkit. It collects the organization's data. It produces a report for them, and the report includes comparative data based on the responses from other organizations that have completed the survey. MEP at NIST, as well as their national network, and more recently, public-private strategies have been helping to get the word out and encourage manufacturers and other organizations to leverage the toolkit and to complete that survey. One of the functionalities that was built into the survey is a referral mechanism, whereby the responding company is encouraged to reach out to their local MEP center and their local Baldrige Alliance program. They can also indicate if they would like to hear from the local MEP center, and it generates an email to that center for follow-up. Now, we're working on moving this system onto our website, and we have felt so hopeful about the potential of this type of approach that our intention is to create similar surveys and referral systems for our other self-assessment offerings, such as Are We Making Progress and Easy Insight, etc. Next slide. So one of our priorities for 2023 was to begin strengthening the alignment and integration of the Baldrige program within our host agency, NIST, and within the Department of Commerce. And that began with a focus on manufacturing and partnering with the Manufacturing Extension Partnership. You've already heard me mention them. I won't read through this list of all the things that we've been working on together, but I will point out that we have jointly really searched for multiple opportunities, and MEP has been a more than willing partner in this. They're promoting Baldrige in their outreach and their communication. They're participating in our conferences. They're supporting our strategic initiatives like the Job Quality Toolkit. And they're pulling us into a number of their initiatives, which are designed to reach and serve the needs of small and medium-sized manufacturers. So all in all, it's a great opportunity, and we are really looking forward to continuing this going forward. Next. All right, so Baldrige Reimagined, the biggest initiative for 2023, and quite frankly, possibly the biggest initiative in the program's history. It's truly a matter of transformational change for the program, and ultimately, probably a lot of the Baldrige Enterprise. I'm sure most of you have already heard a lot about this, so I won't go into great depth, but I do want to touch on the key aspects of Baldrige Reimagined. Next slide. So the purpose of Baldrige Reimagined is to enhance the reach and the impact of Baldrige by attracting, engaging, and serving a wider and deeper audience. In order to do that, we need to ensure that the things we offer are seen as relevant, valuable, and easy to use and easy to participate in. That includes lowering barriers and better leveraging technology. The key components of Baldrige Reimagined are shown here, and it really does start with building on our legacy. While there are many major changes underway and there are changes yet to come, we're not abandoning our core focus on quality and performance excellence. Rather, we're emphasizing some of the outcomes of a focus on excellence, that being resilience and long-term success. When we took a deep dive into organizational resilience, we found, frankly, as expected, that there's great overlap between the drivers of excellence and the drivers of resilience. We've even heard from award recipients over the years that they see the Baldrige Framework as a resilience framework. And as probably most of you know, we have been emphasizing agility and resilience in the framework itself for quite a while. We also heard from many of our award recipients during the pandemic that their focus on excellence and their use of Baldrige made all the difference in their ability to rapidly adapt, to innovate, and to thrive despite the challenges. Next slide. So in June, we received the go-ahead from NIST and the Department of Commerce. So for the past 9 months, we have been redesigning and recreating the Baldrige award process in order to enhance its value proposition, to streamline the process, simplify the process, lower barriers for all who are involved, while also protecting the rigor and the integrity of the process. As I've said many times, achieving the level of performance and the operational maturity that's necessary to be named an award recipient will never be easy. It can't be easy, or you wouldn't be a role model, right? Everyone would be doing it. But participating in the award process should be easy, or at least as easy as we can make it. So the key elements include an overall paradigm shift for the award process, and that being to keep the main thing, and by that I mean focus the award process on identifying role models, period. Yes, there's an educational component to it, but we do not necessarily need to provide an organization-wide assessment against everything that's in the Baldrige Framework in order to identify role models, right? So keep the main thing. That shift has allowed us to establish a tailored set of award criteria that are derived from the framework, as well as some of the finer points of our deep dive into organizational resilience. We've also developed an online application platform that allows applicant organizations to enter their information directly without needing to focus on crafting a well-written 50+ page application that must meet 52 different format requirements or thereabouts. I don't know how many it is, but it was a lot. We're also leaning into our belief that your results are a reflection of the goodness, the effectiveness, the maturity of your processes, especially if you're tracking those results over time. So therefore, we've adapted the first phase of the evaluation process to be focused on evaluating results. There are other questions that are asked in the application to ensure eligibility of the organization, to provide context for the review, but only the results are evaluated at this point during this phase. And examiners will perform, as they have in the past, an independent analysis, an independent review portion that is followed by the team of examiners that are assigned to a particular applicant, coming to consensus on all the components of the evaluation. Examiners will be using a simplified rubric and a simplified evaluation approach, making it easier and less time-consuming for them to complete their work. And the product that they produce is intended to be more transparent and direct in terms of providing the applicant the specifics of exactly what the examiners saw, felt, and why they rated the organization the way they did. For those organizations that advance, site visit will focus on verifying results, of course, but also this is where they will really dive into evaluating key processes and exploring various role model characteristics. In addition to possibly being recognized with the Baldrige Award, we will now also be publicly recognizing award finalists, and we will be incorporating recognition for having impact in areas of importance to the organization and its key stakeholders and the nation. So, for example, some organizations might receive recognition for their efforts to strengthen their ecosystem, or strengthen their communities, perhaps, or for creating high-quality jobs and career paths that are designed to create greater opportunities for underprivileged students. Or perhaps they've made great efforts and are having great impact in reshoring, returning to the US, various manufacturing and service jobs, or it could be any number of other potential recognitions. The idea is organizations are doing great things, having great impact in areas that matter. Let's try and recognize them for it. Next slide. All right, so looking ahead, where are we with the award process and what is next in 2024? Next slide, please, Jerry. Okay, so big news that nobody knows at this point, I suppose, yet, but the award application opened in January, and responses to the eligibility questions were due on the 19th, 2 days ago. So at this point, no new organizations can go into the system, create an account, and prepare an application for 2024. We've never reported eligibility numbers because they might not all actually submit an application. But what I can tell you is that we had 90 organizations go into the system and create accounts. Many of those were clearly people or organizations that were sort of poking around, checking it out, wanting to know more, just more curious than they were serious applicants. But it's still a very encouraging number. Applications are due, so those organizations that have submitted eligibility, they now have until April 11th to finish their applications. In the meantime, we are deep into examiner training, which also was completely transformed, by the way. We have nearly 200 people who have agreed to volunteer their time, their intellect, their energy to serve as examiners. And while change is always hard, and some of these folks have been doing this for decades, I do think that they're gaining an appreciation for the changes we've made. Some folks will probably never really get on board with it, and I understand that. This is a very significant change we're going through, and we do believe it is the right thing to do. And as I said, I think most of the examiners who are participating are gaining an appreciation for the changes that have been made. So I just wanted to sort of walk you through this timeline a little bit here. I mentioned the application are due on the 11th. The review actually begins by the examiners on April 23rd through June 4th. We will be having 5-person teams, which is a streamlining from prior approaches. I mentioned the tailored criteria and the simplified rubric. For those of you who are familiar with our previous evaluation scoring guidelines, there were 6 different levels within that rubric of various scoring ranges. We have consolidated that down to 3 levels. And you can think of it as being consolidated at the top end. Again, we are looking to identify role model organizations. And so a rating of high against the various elements is indicative that the organization might be performing at a role model level. Medium is an organization that's performing very well. And frankly, low is just anything less than that. So it's been compressed upward in that way. I mentioned also that it will include that individual analysis and consensus evaluation. The judges will be meeting on June, actually, I think it's going to be June 20th, to review the output of the evaluation process. They will be using, as always, blinded summary data from that initial review. That permits us to not have to focus on conflicts of interest that judges may have with any of the applicants to that point. So they will look at all the information that's available from the scoring on those organizations. They will make their determinations. And at that point, once they make their decisions as to which organizations move on, that is when we will introduce the names of the organizations and some of the critical information related to their key customers and other partners, et cetera, to ensure that we identify any potential real or perceived conflicts that a judge may have with an applicant. If they have a conflict, they will never see any more information about that particular organization, and they will not participate in the judging process for that organization. Once they make their decisions on the 20th, site visit begins, really. As always, there is a period of planning and preparation, and that will really be from June 20th through July 21st. We plan for an on-site portion. It's going to be hybrid, so a part of that on-site is actually virtual, and then part of that on-site will be in person. There is a small post-site portion where the examiner team will finalize their product and make sure that everything is ready and in good shape for the judges, who will then meet in early September and review everything that comes out of the site visit process. They will have dialogue with the site visit examiner team leader and make their recommendations to the NIST director, who then will vet them, and we will make those recommendations up to the Secretary of Commerce. Next slide, Jerry. Okay, another sort of significant change this year that some may have heard of, but it's not been well discussed because it's still, frankly, still almost in a little bit of the design phase. We've created a pre-screen process, and it's intended and it's designed to leverage existing industry recognitions to help us identify proven high performers that could be invited to participate in the award process starting at site visit. So they would not need to complete the full application, but they would go through the full site visit and judging processes. We researched a variety of potential recognitions, but few had the breadth, the depth, the rigor, the objectivity, and the alignment to our award criteria that we really needed. Ultimately, we settled on 2. Drucker Institute company rankings, which is the basis for the Wall Street Journal Top 250, if you've heard of that, and Just Capital company rankings. While those 2 assessments are not perfectly aligned with one another, they assess very similar dimensions, but they use different evaluation models. So in our screening process, we're utilizing both of these systems, and our process requires that they perform well on both of these, which strengthens our confidence that the organization is actually deserving of being screened into the process at that point. I'll say that the graphic on the right is actually a little bit out of date. We've actually made it more difficult to get through this process. First of all, we are prioritizing manufacturing in 2024. So the first cut is whether or not they're a manufacturing organization. Second, we are looking for organizations that have ranked in the top 30 of Drucker's list of 900 or so organizations that they rank. Top 30 in the current year and top 30 in 3 out of the last 5 years. We also are saying that they must have strong performance in those evaluation dimensions that they evaluate. So think of our award, our criteria categories or items, things like workforce, customers, social responsibility, financial strength, innovation. Those are the things that they must score well in as well. On top of all of those things, the company must be top 100 overall on Just Capital's ranking and top 5 in their industry on Just Capital's rankings. So out of the 900 or so companies that were reviewed by those two organizations, only 7 met our screen. It was intentionally very rigorous. We are only looking for a couple few organizations to invite in. All of these 7 are well-known household brands. And while I think we would be happy if any of these would be able and willing to go through the process, we're working through a limited vetting to make sure that there isn't anything that we would find problematic that would prevent us from thinking they might be able to put up on a podium, right? So let's not reach out to those companies if there's something that would just prevent us from being able to see them through to the end, should they be deserving. So hopefully we'll be able to begin outreach in mid-April, and we will be leveraging every stakeholder group we have to try and identify the best possible contacts for those organizations, whichever ones make it through. We've had this conversation a number of times with the folks in the Alliance, the Foundation, our overseers, our judges, as well as our partner organizations. Just Capital and Drucker are on board with sort of our approach here. They both have indicated that they have confidence that it's an effective approach and worthwhile, and they're willing to help us with outreach. So we will be hopefully doing that, beginning that in mid-April, as I said. Next slide. Okay, other exciting news for 2024. Quest for Excellence is only 2.5 weeks away, April 7 to 10. That is so hard for me to believe. It's going to be another great event for networking, learning, and energizing your team. I hope you all decide to come. There is still time to register. Please do. I honestly think that last year's Quest, we learned some things about really creating some energy and setting a tone, and we've carried that over into this Quest conference, and I think you'll enjoy it should you decide to attend. Next slide. All right, so the Baldrige Excellence Framework, as always, I mentioned this earlier for the last version, we are now at the point of beginning the process to update it again for 2025 and 2026. People have asked whether or not the framework will be dramatically modified or will it even still exist with the Baldrige Reimagined vision. The answer is absolutely yes, it's going to exist. It is and will remain the sort of core body of knowledge, in a sense, that is the foundation for really all of what we do. We are maintaining our regular revision cycle. Therefore, we're starting to update it again. We will, as always, collect input from inside and outside the Baldrige community. We will incorporate learnings that we have picked up from our deep dive into resilience. And we'll continue to look for opportunities to streamline and simplify. I would say that I expect the content changes to be relatively modest. But given that paradigm shift I mentioned before about the award process being focused on identifying role models, a question, and it's just a question at this point, it's not a plan, but a question is, does that give us opportunity to perhaps streamline the framework in some way, shape, or form? I don't know yet, but it'll be a question we ask. Because again, we want this to be the most effective tool for its intended purpose as well. And that might mean making some changes since it is not the basis for the award process any longer. It's the basis, but it's not in its entirety. It's not the same thing as the award process. Okay, next slide. So the Cybersecurity Excellence Builder, this was a product that we produced, I think, for the first time in 2014. And it is a sort of joint product. It's a synthesis of NIST's cybersecurity framework and the Baldrige Excellence Builder. And it's really intended to help organizations understand the effectiveness of their cybersecurity risk management efforts and move beyond sort of that thinking of compliance and thinking about sort of excellence in your cybersecurity space. The NIST cybersecurity framework has become the go-to framework for cybersecurity. So it is very, very popular. It's gotten lots of attention. They just recently actually released version 2. And so with that, we now are able to look at the changes that they have made. We will look at the changes that are coming for our framework and then release a revised Baldrige Cybersecurity Excellence Builder, probably not in 2024, probably in 2025 after our new version of our framework is out. Next slide. And that's it. So 2024, prepare, adapt, innovate, and thrive. Something big is not just coming, it's here. So thank you all for your attention, and I look forward to questions at the end.
Bob, thanks for such a great presentation, and congratulations to not just you, but your whole team up there for getting all of this great work done over the past 24 to 36 months. Great work.
Thank you, Al. Thank you.
Okay, kind of like Bob started off his, I'm going to throw up a slide here that talks to our mission and how we support the Baldrige Enterprise. I'm going to talk a little bit in detail about that during my presentation. Why don't you go to the next slide, Jerry? The foundation sees our role as not just supporting the Baldrige program, but supporting the Baldrige Enterprise as well. And we do that in a number of ways, and I'm going to break it down into the program, the alliance, and then communities of excellence. First of all, a big part of our mission was to get Baldrige back into the federal budget, which we were able to do in 2018. And we've continued to scale up their appropriation by working closely with members of the Commerce, Justice, Science subcommittees in both the House and the Senate, and building relationships, long-lasting relationships with that key community of people. We support the Baldrige program and the Quest for Excellence Conference, and as Bob said, we'd like to see you all there this year. And for those of you that would like to showcase your organization or your support for the conference, we're always looking for additional sponsors. And Josh Reset, our Vice President of National Programs and Development, does an outstanding job working with all of the private sector community that want to, again, showcase their organization at Quest. Bob talked a little bit about cybersecurity, and in addition to all of their efforts, one of the things that the foundation has done is form an alliance and a strategic partnership with the College of Healthcare Information Management Executives, and those are all the CIOs and CISOs from every hospital and hospital system, not only in the country, but now outside of the United States. Chime has a program called Most Wired. And Most Wired is a self-assessment program based on the Baldrige criteria and the Baldrige Cybersecurity Excellence Builder that recognizes healthcare organizations for their cybersecurity efforts. And there are different levels of recognition within it. And right now we have reached more than 70,000 healthcare organizations with this product co-branded with Chime. And so we've been really excited about that, and we're looking to take that into other sectors of the economy in the coming years here, especially with Volume 2 of the Baldrige Cybersecurity Excellence Builder coming out hopefully early next year. In terms of professional service agreements in the lower left-hand corner there, we support the Baldrige program with the Fellows program, site visits, the Quest assistance, and examiner training by giving Bob the ability to scale up his staff for peak needs throughout the year and paying for those that extra staffing that he needs to get through some of the most challenging times that he has in his calendar. In addition to that, Bob's and the program's responsibility is to recognize organizational performance excellence. We try to supplement that by recognizing individual leaders, not only within the Baldrige community, but outside as well, who support performance excellence, who support Baldrige, who support the foundation, state programs across the board. And we have recognized to date more than 170 leaders in the last few years with our individual award programs. And we're always encouraging everybody out there to download the application and recommend a solid leader to us for future awards. Promoting the Baldrige program, we do that in so many ways. We have CEO roundtables hosted by the foundation. As a matter of fact, we're going to be conducting one at ACHE's Congress in Chicago, and that begins this Sunday with our CEO roundtable at the Fairmont Hotel in Chicago. We have podcasts, we have these webinars that we conduct not only to update you on what's going on with the Baldrige Enterprise, but individual topics that are sponsored by the Institute and the Mac Baldrige Society trustees who underwrite all that. Overall, throughout the year with our press releases, our individual contacts, our deep list of people that we reach in all of our communications, we're looking at about 170,000 people out there on an annual basis that we're able to touch and tell the Baldrige story. Next slide. Well, how we support the Alliance, very similar, but in some other ways, in addition to what we do for the program. In the advocacy role, one of the things that we do is we identify and recognize and send a letter of congratulations to all the organizations who receive state-based awards. And then we also send letters of congratulations to their 2 senators and their member of Congress, as well as their governor. And we make sure that the state program director gets copies of all of those letters so that they know that A, we've sent them, and B, we're doing our best to recognize and showcase those organizations in their individual states. We assist the fall conference each year, and we have gained the lion's share of sponsorships and donations to the fall conference supporting that event, which is again one of the most well-attended events throughout the year in terms of Baldrige-based events. Last year's in Wisconsin was just fantastic, and looking forward to going to Florida this year in the fall. We work on creating new applicants. On an average each year, just by our events only, we're able to identify organizations that approach us, and we turn over to state-based programs, more than 12 organizations on average each year to individual state programs, helping to recruit into that front door future applicants for the Baldrige program. Collaborative fundraising events, not only through the Institute for Performance Excellence, but we've offered them through the Combined Federal Campaign and a number of other ways to assist state programs in their fundraising, providing additional revenue streams. We've used our individual awards and highly encouraged state program directors to recommend people for state program awards. And as a matter of fact, the next person talking, Mr. Brian Lassiter, is one of this year's recipients, being recognized for all of his hard work and great work with Communities of Excellence. But in addition to that, we've recognized state program directors in the past. You can see Katie Rawls and Julia Gabaldon there that we recognized previously, and they were 2 great mentors of mine, and it was a real honor to present them with individual leadership awards. And then lastly, marketing and awareness. Every time state programs approach us and ask us to promote things like the Baldrige Fall Conference and other events, we're more than happy to do that and to expand their reach. Next slide. Communities of Excellence, again, very similar in how we support them. We were instrumental in the advocacy efforts to get community added as the 7th category of the Baldrige Awards. Very proud to do that and looking forward to building more support in Congress, especially for additional funding, so that we can implement community in a big way in the coming years. We provide administrative support to Communities of Excellence on an annual basis, doing a lot of their behind the scenes administrative type work so that their team can stay focused on marketing and awareness and doing all of the great training and all of the great networking that they do with their collaborative, national collaborative, and some other things. We provide them marketing and awareness tools as well. We're always more than happy to promote communities. It's probably what I think is one of the most exciting new developments in addition to the new award this year across the country. Whenever I talk to members of Congress, always very excited about what we can do to help communities at the community level. We've also provided Communities of Excellence with a complimentary institute community so that they can network with all their communities in their national collaboratives, both within the community and with other communities within the institute, and providing the backbone and the IT support that allows them to do that. We've learned a lot from doing that as well, in terms of them being one of the first pilot organizations to actually take advantage of it. We provide thought leadership support for Communities of Excellence. We've authored and encouraged a number of professional articles that have appeared in the Journal for Performance Excellence, as well as the Chronicle of Leadership and Management, and on our webinars and in a number of other ways to, again, help support this new concept of bringing Baldrige to the community level. And lastly, we're proud to be the sole sponsor of the current framework. And they've done a great job in updating it in this particular edition. And I would recommend that everybody reach out to Stephanie and get a copy of it. If you're into Baldrige, okay, you definitely want to see where this new criteria is headed. Lastly, I'm going to point out the importance of the work the foundation does, not just at the national level, but all the way down through the state and local programs in working with you to promote the entire Baldrige enterprise. That is how we see our mission now and into the future. And to emphasize the importance of that, we made it an award recipient this year, Senator Shelley Moore Capito from West Virginia. And she is one of the most senior members of the CJS subcommittee in the Senate, very instrumental in supporting Baldrige and funding Baldrige. And so we are showcasing her at this year's conference for all of the great work she's done, not only for us, but what she's done for the nation, and specifically what she has done for the great state of West Virginia, where she is from. And so to show you the importance of that, I'm going to close up my presentation here with a short video clip from her in the next slide. Jerry?
Hello, everyone. I am so honored to receive the Baldrige Foundation's Award for Leadership Excellence in Government for 2024. The work of the Baldrige Foundation and the Baldrige program at NITS have delivered consistent results for more than 3 decades, helping to make the U.S. more competitive in the world. The positive impact that Baldrige has had on America is indisputable. Revenues increase, better paying jobs are created, and students perform better, all thanks to the Baldrige Framework. I'm especially grateful for your efforts in West Virginia, especially in my home county of Kanawha County. I'm proud to say that it is one of the most successful in the Communities of Excellence program. I'm also proud of the work Baldrige has done to help improve rural health care. In West Virginia, developing and delivering quality care to every corner of the state has been a challenge. But we've been able to improve by working together and creating a better future. Over the years, I have been proud to support the Baldrige Foundation and Baldrige Performance Excellence Program. As a member of the Appropriations Committee, I have secured and stabilized consistent funding for the Baldrige program, and this is something I'm very proud of. I know our best days are ahead of us, especially when we work together. I hope you all enjoy the event, and thank you so much for this wonderful recognition.
And I wanted everybody to have the opportunity to actually see her clip, because I know a lot of you won't be at Quest. This was actually made for Quest, but you're getting an advanced look at it here. But again, we're showcasing her leadership because these types of relationships are critically important to our future for Baldrige and to our growth with Baldrige. And so again, everything that we can do to support the Baldrige Enterprise, we see as our mission, and we're really proud to do it. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Brian Lassiter. Brian?
Thank you, Al. Thanks, Bob, too, for your remarks earlier. I'll keep my comments fairly short because I want to leave some time, certainly for Stephanie and Communities of Excellence, and then time for Q&A. Those of you that have heard my spiel before know that I sometimes call the Alliance the front door of the Baldrige Enterprise or the Baldrige program. We're the feeder system for the organizations and communities that eventually apply for the national award. This slide has a lot of words on it, but I want to draw your attention to a couple of things. About a little over a year ago, we started our own visioning exercise. Started with our grappling with the organization profile questions and realizing that we had some work to do as an alliance. We're the consortium of all the state, regional, and sector-based programs across the country that use Baldrige as the foundation of our work. So we created a purpose statement, have never had that in the past. I think it really captures what we're all about as the consortium of Baldrige-based programs. And we revised our mission statement, which hadn't been revised in at least a decade. And mission statements often are not frequently revised, but given the changes that we've all experienced with the pandemic and other challenges the last few years, I think shifting it to the wording that you see here on the page was very prudent. We're now re-exploring our core values as an alliance, which shape our culture. We're going to evaluate our business model, the customers we serve and their needs, and kind of wander through the rest of the profile questions to make sure we have consensus and alignment. Go to the next slide here, Jerry. We are membership-based. I mentioned we are 29 Baldrige-based programs. You'll see the map there in the United States. We cover all 50 states through the 29 programs. And we have some unique members as well. A couple of them are nationally focused. You'll hear from Communities of Excellence here in a second, as well as the American Healthcare Association. And one is internationally focused. Sterling International serves organizations and businesses around the world that are using Baldrige as the foundation of their work. And then some other members you see listed there. You're certainly welcome to consider joining the Alliance as well. These are all organizations and individuals that have a passion for performance excellence. Next slide. A lot of words on this page too, but I wanted to give you a sense of scale. We had 941 applications last year, sharply up from the previous year. My sense is some of the paused or suspended demand for our work due to COVID was coming back last year, and you can start to see a trend line form in the last 3 years with the number of applications we're reviewing, the number of full applications we're reviewing, which are the top level awards, number of examiners that we train across the nation, almost 1,000 of them. And you can read some of the other statistics there. Combined, we're a pretty sizable force of programs that are using the Baldrige Framework as the foundation of our work. And the next slide is a placeholder slide, because given our visioning exercise, we have not yet created a 2024 plan officially, although a lot of the work that we started in 23 is carrying over. The Alliance Board meets here in a couple of weeks, and we're considering some of the initiatives we'll pursue in 2024. A lot of them align with the Baldrige Reimagined program, initiative that you just heard Bob talk about, our own transformational efforts within the Alliance, a rebranding effort, and so forth, but that's yet to come. And the last slide talks about some of the activities that I just mentioned. We have stood up our own transformation committee last summer, I think it was, that is not only supporting the Baldrige Reimagined effort, but taking a look at how we operate as an alliance, try to provide more value to our members and those we serve. I mentioned a branding study. We haven't done that in quite a while either, and it's not necessarily changing the name of the organization, although that's up for debate as well, but how we're positioned in the marketplace and the value we offer our customers. Al mentioned the Baldrige Fall Conference. That's an event that's produced and hosted by Alliance and Alliance members in cooperation with the Foundation and the Baldrige program. We're excited to announce that it'll be in South Florida, late October. You see the dates there. October 28th and 29th is the Communities of Excellence Conference. You'll hear Stephanie share in a moment. And then October 29th and 30th is the Baldrige Fall Conference. Very excited to have it in South Florida, and 2 days before the hurricane season's over. So mark your calendars and book your trip. It'll be a wonderful event full of sharing and learning from each other that are on the journey to excellence. With that, I want to hand it over to Stephanie to give a brief update on Communities of Excellence, and then back to you, Al.
Well, hello everyone, and it's a pleasure to be here. Next slide, please. So again, we also kind of start out with who we are, and just as a recap, we are a nonprofit organization committed to improving the quality of life for all residents at the community level, and we do this through a Baldrige-based Communities of Excellence framework. You can go to the next slide, please. Now, the thread you'll see through all of this is as we began on this journey actually 10 years ago with Communities of Excellence. Our first program was the National Learning Collaborative, and we've seen a lot of success with that. It really helped us understand what works, what communities need, and kind of what the best way to provide the support to communities is. Now, as we're growing, we are now offering even more programs and services to support individuals and communities at all different levels of readiness for this journey. And so that's really what we've been putting a lot of our time into lately. But the most exciting thing we've done, as Al briefly mentioned earlier, is the revision to the Communities of Excellence framework. We completed this in September. It was by far our most comprehensive revision. It took us 6 months. We had over 100 voices contribute. Those are individuals involved in the COE Learning Collaborative, on Baldrige individuals, and we brought together a task force of 6 national DEI leaders. The task force was led by Lisa Tabor from Culture Brokers, and they really looked at the framework with the eye of DEI and helped us add and adjust the criteria to make sure that that was incorporated meaningfully into the framework. We also aligned it to the Baldrige Framework revision, and really just took in all the things we had learned. So we are thrilled about this new framework. It is on sale on our website, both in a PDF and in a paper version, and I really encourage you to check it out and let me know what you think. We are always trying to improve and update it. Next slide, please. Now, this is who's currently involved in our National Learning Collaborative. Again, that's our flagship program. It's a 3-phase, 3-year program, and then after that is an alumni program. We currently have 26 communities involved. As you can see, they are from all over the country. And as we just heard from Kanawha County as well, has been one of our longest participants. The Learning Collaborative is going great, and we are just starting marketing for next year's cohort, which would be our 8th cohort of communities. And we look for groups of leaders in different communities across the country who want to come together, adopt this framework, and really help address their most challenging and complex problems together, using this framework as their roadmap. Next slide, please. One of these new tools that we've developed that came directly from our community saying, we need help with this, is our Common Community Scorecard. Now, as you all know, Baldrige is not prescriptive, and we are not either, but we know that you need some help. You need somewhere to start. And that's what this Common Community Scorecard really is. We started with these 5 high-level metrics that really help paint a picture of the performance of your community. It's a holistic picture because these are so interconnected. These measures are easily accessible down to the census tract and updated regularly. Next slide, please. But we didn't stop there, because we know communities need a lot more support and data for decision-making, for storytelling, for communicating with their residents and other organizations. And so we continue to expand that score kit with other really important aspects of data, knowledge management. And what is the most exciting is that this is all now becoming an online dashboard. We're working with a partner organization called TAP Network. They do amazing work with helping you visualize and tell stories with your data. And we are just about to launch this. This is not only for the communities in the Learning Collaborative. This is for any community or organization that really wants to understand how their community is performing. So I encourage you to think about participating with us in this. Next slide, please. And again, to support the fact that we know that not every community or organization or individual is ready to dive into the full Learning Collaborative experience, we've launched a membership program that can help individuals and businesses and organizations grow the skills and gain the knowledge and experience they need to launch a Communities of Excellence journey, or just to be more effective in how they contribute in their community. So that's really the focus of the membership program. We're really excited about it. Again, I encourage you to take a look at this. Is on our website. All of these are on our website at communitiesofexcellence2026.org. Or you can just reach out to me as well. I think my contact information is in there, and we'll be happy to talk to you about what would make the most sense to you. But these are really just to help our communities, our businesses, our leaders, and our organizations to support their communities and help us really help our country perform at the highest level that it can. Next slide, please. And then one more thing here, coming soon, we are now offering a much more mature and developed examiner training. We are actually going to start charging a modest amount of money for this because we put a lot of money, a lot of time into developing this training. And this will help individuals who want to learn more about this process or really better understand how to think about and look at their community. You can go through this training with us. We'll be making the official announcement very soon, but hopefully you'll consider this as well. Do I have any more slides? I think this might be it. And that's my slide. So thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much, Stephanie. Appreciate that update as well as yours, Brian. And we've got a couple questions here from the audience. And Bob, they're both yours. One's a two-part question from Peggy here, and it is, one, does the new criteria make the previous criteria obsolete? And when can new examiners get qualified and trained on the new process?
Okay, so first, I tried to answer this during the presentation. The framework will remain, and the meat of the framework is the criteria for performance excellence, as we've called it for many, many decades. So that criteria will continue to be updated and made available for organizations that are looking to improve. It remains the source for the evaluations that are being performed through the Alliance programs. And everything that's in there is important for organizations' performance, their ability to achieve excellence and sustain excellence. The only question we were dealing with was, do we really need to evaluate all of that in order to determine role models? And the answer we came up with was no, you don't have to evaluate all of those things to the depth that we've done it in the past in order to identify role models. That does not negate the value of using the framework for improvement in any way, shape, or form. Oh, and examiners. Yeah, this year, because of all the change, one of the things we had to do was we had to reprogram our examiner application and other systems. And so just to keep things simple, we only invited returning examiners to participate this year. That'll change again. I assume next year we'll start inviting new examiners to participate in the process as we have in the past. It's not sustainable to not invite new examiners, so we will certainly do that as soon as we can.
Al, if I could just quick chime in and build on Bob's answer, the Alliance member programs still use the full framework too, and Bob just hinted at that. All of us have a tiered structure where it starts small with the organization profile and grows deeper into the full framework. That will continue, and Bob mentioned the criteria itself, the framework may shift over time, but the Alliance members are still committed to using the full framework to drive excellence.
Okay, we're gonna have to wrap things up here as we close in on the hour, but for those of you that we did not get to your question, we will assign that question to a member of the panel or several members of the panel if appropriate, and we will get back to you via email following the webinar today. So Jerry, if you go to the next closing slide here. I just want to remind everybody real quick that the Foundation's Institute for Performance Excellence has more than 400 training and professional development certification courses that you can be done online at your own pace. And this month we're showcasing 3 certification courses: our Leadership Assessment, Leading Teams, and Leading High Performance Teams certification courses. And you can visit the Institute at baldrigeinstitute.org/education to learn more and to register. As a reminder, the recorded version of today's presentation and the slides will be available on the Foundation's website early next week. We hope that you had a great time today, and please remember and mark your calendars that our next webinar will be on April 25th, and there'll be more information coming out shortly. Thanks again to all of our great sponsors and donors, and for all of you who are working tirelessly every day to support the Baldrige Enterprise. Thanks for attending this afternoon and enjoy the rest of your day.